I wanted to make something that fit into the mold of like what I would be proud to share. But now I'm kind of like, you know what? Maybe the self-help thing, like, I think everyone would be kind of into it now. Like, it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this even is. So that's
being yourself is cool.
Hi, welcome back. This week, it's a little bit different. It's not recorded in a studio or even my studio apartment where it's usually recorded because we're going to a party. Get ready. Maybe you were there already. It's the recording of the launch party to the zine that I made this summer. It's called Pivot, and maybe you heard about it last week's episode with my friend Simi, who was the first person to read it. But this one's a little bit different. Manage your audio expectations accordingly because, like I said, it's recorded in the middle of a party, and I had the best time. I'm so grateful that I got to do it. It was great to just be out of the house. I honestly was really moved in the middle of it, which you'll hear. I look around the room. So many of my friends were there, and so many of those people helped me this year when I broke my leg and spent most of the summer in a cast and really couldn't do much and needed rides to doctor's appointments and groceries, and everyone was so supportive and kind, and I feel closer with everyone because of it. And so many of those people were in this room, and that was really special, and it was moving to look around and get to see them and celebrate something that I am excited about, which was progress. You know, I think again, you'll hear me talk about it in this, but I was pretty bummed and I needed to do something, and this was a low-hanging fruit. So it gave me a little bit of momentum, and I'm really grateful for that. And I'm happy that you're going to get to listen to it now. I wasn't sure if I was actually going to air this, and we kind of joked around about it, but I think I am, because why not? In this, my dear friend, Verônika, who's an incredible writer, and she's my neighbor and just someone who's so special, and the more I get to know her, the more I love her, and I really love her a lot, and you'll get to hear that in this. She really came in and was so supportive and nurturing and led this conversation with me, which was so nice and kept us on track. And when I went all over the place and tried to talk to everyone in the room, and it was just really lovely, and I'm so grateful. And yeah, you'll hear her read a little bit from the zine, a part that she likes, and then she asks me some questions about how it came to be, and then I read one, and you'll hear me giggling because I sort of couldn't believe I was reading that one, and it was a good time. I think a good time had by all. Maddie asked a question, Dexter asked a question, and you'll hear me kind of interacting with different people in the room, and like I said, it's a little bit different than the interviews that you're used to hearing, partly because I'm the one being interviewed, and also because it was recorded in the middle of a party. But thank you so much for listening, and thank you for coming to the party if you came. And if you have already read Pivot and sent me a nice note, I'm so grateful to everyone who's read it and has been so nice about it. And if you would like to read it, how to get a copy is in the show notes. And if you are a paid subscriber of my Substack, that's one way to get it, and it's on its way to you. So thank you. Thank you for reading the Substack, and thank you for listening to the podcast and being here. And thank you to NOTO for hosting the party, and Verônika for hosting this conversation in this episode, and to everyone who came to the party, including you listening right now, because you're there too in interstellar time. Okay, here goes. Welcome to the party.
Thank you for coming, everybody. Yay, Katie! Woohoo! This is the celebration of the launch of Pivot,
maybe.
Katie's zine. We are. Do I talk into the microphone?
Yeah. Okay. So it looks like we're pretending. It appears as though we're pretending, but it's actually recording. Many of you have been victim to this know this setup well if you've had, and if watch out, you could be next coming upstairs to record. But we're recording mostly for our mutual best friend who's out of town, who made the cover, but for the podcast. So we're recording, but it's not elevating. We'll project.
We'll project.
It looks like we're pretending, which, maybe we are.
And does everyone feel like they have a copy of the zine? There's also a tote bag if you need one and you don't have one. There's a tote bag of zine somewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm Verônika. I'm really excited to be having a little conversation with Katie tonight. And then after a few minutes of scintillating conversation and quick readings, we're going to open it up to everyone in case anyone has something they want to ask or share. Some of you may know that the zine, the concept is essentially, it's a compilation of essays that Katie wrote in her 20s. So it's kind of about like not having your shit together. And she was a columnist for a magazine that has since kind of been dismantled and has immortalized her work in this, which is so beautiful and so honest. I will ask you a few questions. I wanted to start by reading from a book that we both love, I Love Dick by Chris Kraus, because I feel like she reminds me so much of Katie and they feel like contemporaries, and she's like kind of a like a intellectual, artistic godmother to you, I feel like.
That's very flattering. I love it.
So this is from the foreword to Chris's book, and it's by Eileen Miles. What about Chris? During a foreign movie moment after college, I went to see Adele H on a date, I think. We got stoned before the movie, and I remember a panicky, depressed feeling flooding me as I watched Truffaut's romantic female lose her shit over a man, getting dumped, and that turning into the end of her life, her sanity, everything. I was just like a 25-year-old, but watching, I felt she was me, even though the guy I sat next to, Bill, was kind of a friend and didn't evoke any of those same feelings. I just knew in a quiet way I was ruined if I agreed to be female. There was so much evidence on the screen and in books. I read Doris Lessing in literature class, and that depressed the shit out of me too. I just hated reading work by women or about women because it always added up the same. Loss of self, endless self-abnegation. Even as the female was trying to be an artist, she wound up pregnant, desperate, waiting on some man. A Marxist guy, perhaps. When would this end? Remarkably, it has right here in this book. So that's kind of, I feel like, the vibe of this book as well. And my first question is just tell us about the process of compiling this from column into its whole own thing and kind of like reclaiming it and your inspiration for that.
Thank you so much for, give it for Verônika, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for doing this with me, and I'm so grateful. And clearly, in my mid-30s, have not having my shit together because it was a real touch and go here until this moment right now. So thank you for all being so nice about it and being here and coming, and I'm just so grateful. And one really important announcement, if any of you have tried to text me or called me in the last several hours, I have no idea where my phone is, so we'll find it eventually, but I just want to say that for the record. I will respond at some point. Thank you. Okay, the question, how did this come to be? So everybody knows I broke my goddamn leg. And I couldn't walk or drive, and I had a lot of time to think and cry to most of the people in this room. And also, like, God, I'm looking around this room, and so many of you drove me to doctor's appointments and put me in a cart with your baby and snacks and drove me down Addison Way. Pulled me with your strength and crafted text messages to people for me when I really needed that. Drove me to a doctor's appointment that I missed and then heard me cry about it because of similar situation. Took me to a concert where we were in the nosebleeds and I forced you to not take the elevator and we still made it all the way up, crutching. And some people I don't know that are here and like my work, which is like so nice. And my favorite neighbors on Addison Way. And I want to get, each one of you are going to get it. I didn't even look in this general vicinity, but Dr. Patty really deserves an honor and a privilege and an award for the, okay, well, this is
about you. Let's circle back.
All right, well, I get it. Yeah.
And if the people in the back want to, you can come sit here on the floor.
Dr. Patty's a good, I think you really saw me. I wrote a Substack this week about being seen at your worst. And there's an intimacy to that and to being seen on your worst days. And I think Crystal's here. I was looking for you. But yeah, Dr. Patty and Crystal's real character in the answer to this question. So this wouldn't exist without Crystal, and it was her idea. She got you all into this mess. But yeah, I mean, okay, fuck it. I was like really depressed and sad, and to the point where like I really couldn't. I won't be like too dark, but yeah, man, it was rough. And then Crystal was really just trying to get me to like get some momentum and do something, and I needed like a low-hanging fruit, you know? And I wrote this book many years ago, and like you said, I wrote a column for the Fullest called Pivot, which was about like navigating your Saturn return in your 20s. And Alyssa, remember, you know, I had a similar party that Alyssa planned for me, so things really went well when you have someone helping you. But anyway, I had to do something to just like get the ball rolling, essentially. And I had these columns, so I did the horrific thing of looking at work that you made 5 years ago, 4 years ago, right 5 minutes ago. Why did I say that thing about, you know? And doing that, you know, the first page is like these lessons I compiled based on all these experiences that I wrote about in these essays that I learned a lot. And I think that, you know, growth isn't linear. Clearly for me, it's like I might get to the same spot, but I'm going to go around the back, through the legs, over the shoulder. But, you know, it takes a while, and you have to learn lessons multiple times. And so I compiled these 11 things that I wrote. And one is an interview, one is, you'll see, you know, they're here. But it was both like nauseating to go back and look at it, but also I think it, you know, as Didion says, like, be like, okay, that's so who I was then. And the biggest thing that I felt this week is something that Maddie told me. I'm so sorry, Maddie needs water currently. Thomas is gonna get her water. But Maddie said this thing to me the other day that I tend to have, and I'm curious if anyone in this room relates to this, like, I need to paste a lot of things that I've copied. You know, you like copy something from the computer, and then and then you might lose that. And I often do. This is a big like pasting of a chapter of my life, so I can move on to the next one, and I can figure out what the next one is. And you know, all of Let It Out is like basically about release and about like not holding on to what, you know, you gotta. When I was sick, when I was a kid, my mom would just be like, gotta let it out, gotta get it out. And it's not, you know, poop. Nobody likes to feel backed up creatively or otherwise. So this is a big, feels good to, yeah.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I want to read some of the notes to self that Katie wrote that she was talking about, because I think they're really beautiful. And I'll read the Joan Didion quote, which some of you may know that we both love so much. It is, "We are well advised to keep on nodding terms with the people we used to be, whether we find them attractive company or not. Otherwise, they turn up unannounced and surprise us, hammering on the mind's door at 4 a.m. of a dark night and demand to know who deserted them, who betrayed them, who's going to make amends." So going into Katie's work, which I think is a really nice conversation. In no particular order, my notes to self. Number 1, growth isn't linear. You have to learn lessons multiple times. 2, control is a joke. 3, you crave intimacy and fear it in equal measure. 4, so much of life is timing. 5, people will surprise you and disappoint you. Don't attach too much to either. 6, say less. It's easier to fix than saying too much. 7, someone's giving 100% might be your 70%. Not everyone chose love like you do. It doesn't mean they don't care. 8, everyone has something to teach you. No one is your friend. No one is your enemy. Everyone is your teacher. Florence Scovel Shinn. 9, relationships are mirrors. They reflect your strengths and weaknesses. 10, the work will always be there. The people may not be. Okay, there's 34 and they're all so brilliant, but I'm just going to let you guys read them yourselves and you can paste it on your bulletin board or something like that, because I think that's what I'm going to do. I was also hoping before we do a few more questions that you could read a little bit of whichever piece you want to for everybody.
Which is your favorite?
I mean, you know the one that I love that I read today.
Should I read that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I think a lot of people in here will get a kick out of that one. I am gonna just read 2 seconds of this one that will explain the lunch thing, or I'll just tell you which one it is so you can read that one. Just everyone who's here tonight, please just give the one that's about giving. I don't even know what number it is. Give that one a scan and it'll make the theme make sense, okay? All right, here we go. I'm gonna read this. Okay, so 2 of them weren't actually in the fullest column, but they were written like in this span of time. This is gonna be, I'm gonna do it. Here we go. So this one and the one before it were never published before. Even though, are they published now? I just made a printout, but here we are. Okay, this one's called Don't Touch, and they all have a date to when they were written or published. So July 2020, Los Angeles, California. I'd say hello, pull down my pants, and lie in my stomach. Alex would massage one side of my butt for 90 minutes. She gave me stern life advice while telling me to breathe through the discomfort. She'd ask me about my breakup and say, his loss, you're still so young. I made my way uptown to her office a few times a week. I was referred to her after a strange injury, which one doctor thought was a herniated disc and another a piriformis. After multiple MRIs, both doctors agreed that weekly massages with Alex, a physical therapist, was the best option to heal my pain in the butt. The longer I sat, the more the sensation was activated. Sciatica would shoot all the way down my leg and into one foot, making sure I knew I was alive. If I shifted in a certain way, an impingement in my hip would hit a nerve, causing a spasm that would last until I took a muscle relaxer. Alex's pressure wasn't pleasurable, but it felt like progress. Like a detective, she'd ask me questions until she found the most intense spot. She'd press and hold and tell me to breathe through it. Often I'd leave with bruises. I spent those months depressed and running from appointment to appointment. My therapist in Brooklyn, my dietitian in Chelsea, my dentist on Wall Street. But Alex did what all of those practitioners couldn't do. She got me out of my head and into my body. And when my pain in the butt started to heal, I still craved scheduled touch. I needed a massage that wasn't medical grade. That's when I met David. I'd remove my clothes, he'd press on all my tender spots for an hour, longer for 10 minutes more. Unlike Alex, David and I barely exchanged words. I thought about all the other clients he'd seen in the waiting room of his spa across the street from my apartment. What brought them into this East Village spa late at night? Like most things worth having, touch is complex and requires vulnerability. It has the power to inflict everything from anguish to euphoria. In this neon-lit spa, it was transactional. On a steamy July night, I didn't want to go home, so I walked to David's spa, and I kept my dress on and sprung for a foot massage. You okay? He asked. I think he was asking about the pressure, but I said, I will be. I wish I could have helped David like he helped me those months. He seemed equally bright and content. I read that the person giving a massage can experience as great of a reduction in stress hormones as the person on the receiving end. I hope that was true. That winter, on the first day of January, I left New York for a place far away from the cold city. When I landed in Bali, I learned the city was known for affordable massages. While everyone I knew was asleep in another hemisphere, I wandered into spas. When I had 3 different massages in 1 week, I wondered if I'd taken it too far. That wasn't sustainable, yet I wished to be touched constantly. As a kid, I relished when friends would play with my hair and give me a back scratch. I came from a family of Midwestern huggers and constantly craved that warmth. After Ubud, I headed to Sydney. As soon as I landed, I was face down in a chair. I needed a quick hit of oxytocin before stepping outside, even if it was from an overpriced airport masseuse. The entire time in Australia, I longed for the womb-like utopia of Bali. The air was so thick it was hard to breathe. It was like an incubator. So I booked a brief trip back to the place I felt most comfortable being alone. But coronavirus canceled that return. Instead, it landed me in the gloomy chill of Los Angeles early spring as the world warmed up to the idea of the pandemic. I can't believe I'm reading this one. I just see your underlines now. Physical affection became at your own risk activity. It's easy to social distance when you're nameless in a new city. I wondered how long it would be before I would have physical contact ever again. I ended up spending the summer in a back shed of a house overlooking the mountains. In the main house lived a tall blonde artist named Blake. I knew we were around the same age and from the Midwest when we shared the same early 2000s Disney Channel references and both ate cereal in bed. As roommates in the midst of a widespread airborne illness, we were, by default, safe to interact. Stuck in the house without much to do, we made a wholesome list of summer camp activities like we were kids. Most mornings, he'd make us coffee, and we'd take his dog on a hike. Our boredom led us to bake a peach pie from scratch. As I kneaded the dough, we stood close to one another. "Can you put flour on my hands?" I asked. The dough didn't need more flour, but I wanted his hands to touch mine. The pie came out crumbly. We sat apart, eating it with ice cream, laughing at how dry it was. When I told him that it had been years since I drove, he tossed me the keys and said, "Time to practice." We jumped into his mom's car. He'd driven from Cleveland when he moved to LA a few years before. The radio didn't work, but he put a Bluetooth speaker in the cup holder so we could play songs we hadn't heard since high school. I drove all the way to the beach on back roads with my hands locked at 10 and 2. I could feel his eyes on me. Later, he might have felt mine on him when I pretended to read but mostly watched him surf. I was too scared to drive on the freeways, so he drove us home. With the windows down and Sufjan Stevens blaring from the cup holder, I held back from telling him our pretend camp was a real bright spot in a bummer year. That night, we drank tequila and Topo Chico in the yard. I laid on the grass and gazed up at the stars, and he laid down near me side by side. Our legs brushed softly. I didn't move. Was it accidental? Should I apologize? My heart began beating so fast, I was positive he could hear it. Suddenly, we both looked away from each other and toward his dog, Barry, who had been sitting next to us. Barry started barking and coughing wildly. After a few panicked moments, Blake decided to take him inside and go to sleep. Wide awake in my twin-sized bed, I worried I had just traded feeling like a wholesome kid at summer camp for feeling like an awkward adolescent, realizing they have an inconvenient crush. Maybe it was all the early 2000s music we listened to, but overnight I reverted into a gooey girl. When I smiled at him in the kitchen the next morning, I felt a high I had not felt since walking by my crush's locker in high school. But this time, I didn't get to leave that giddy state in the school's hallway. Now I had to live in it as a grown-up. On another steamy July night, I sat under the stars alone. I thought about David and Alex and all the people that had touched me in the last year when I was heartbroken. I wondered how their businesses were doing on the opposite coast. I came back into my body when I heard Blake yell my name. He'd just finished writing a song he'd been stuck on. I could tell he wanted company, and I was his only option. "Can Barry and I come out here and sit with you?" I tried to answer casually. Sure. I felt his eyes on me. Cat Stevens played. I looked at him looking at me. Our legs touched slightly. No one moved. Then he whispered, not to be weird, but he hesitated. "It's nice to be this close to someone right now." I felt the bloom of oxytocin, his arm went around me. I rested my head on his shoulder. For once, I didn't fill the silence. I let it linger before I said, "It's not weird."
Yay, thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful.
I love that phrase, the bloom of oxytocin. Okay, just have a few more questions really quick, and then I want to open it up if anyone wants to ask anything or say anything. I wanted to ask, you mentioned in the book that you accomplished some things in your 20s despite feeling like you were kind of all over the place, including publishing a book and traveling the world. So tell us a little bit about the book that you published and tell us your favorite place that you went.
Well, I think that I wish that I could get some of that back. Like, I think this is a conversation I've had with so many of you here, But being at the age I am now, like Crystal put this into perspective for me. Like when I turned, when I moved here, I was 29, and when I turned 30, it was like, oh, I'm like still in my 20s, like whatever. And then this year, I very much felt my age for the first time, like physically, and then obviously like the body stuff and just what my friends have been going through, I became 30, and in that time, and also like sitting for a lot of time sitting, this forced, which I, as everyone here knows, I never do. I would never have done if not for this, and I think I really needed to. I could think about a lot of this, and then being in reading my old work and like reading all of that, I realized that I had this sort of delusion. I don't know if anyone else relates to this, but it's another cliche of like the ignorance of youth, but I really had to have at least some confidence to just be like, I don't know anybody. The furthest west I'd been was Chicago, like I'm here in Tinseltown with all of you. Like, this is incredible. Like, I mean, I can't even, I'm a peasant, as we say, like I look very literary right now, but it's like the one book that I like have read, but I think I really, like, I didn't know anybody. All I wanted was to move to New York, and I would blow out a candle for my birthday every year, and I can tell you this one because it came true, but I just would want to move to New York. Like, I wish to move, like, I just wanted to get out. Like, I didn't know, I knew people did it, but, like, we didn't do it, like, my family, And I think that I had a lot of momentum and magnetism, and I'm calling it delusion, but, like, I'm looking at Maddie, like, I think it's true, and I think every single person in here has that. It's like this, and confidence isn't the right word. It's like I had to believe in myself. I had to have this, I need to get some of that back, I think. And I think when you have a couple shaky experiences, and I think when I'll speak for myself, when I have had that shaken enough times, there's a narrowing that happens the older that you get. Like, some of the things that I wanted, like, just like might not be in the cards for me, not even in a sad way, just like time, man, and money or whatever. But it was so open, and I really had to believe that, like, I interned for this. I wanted to be a motivational speaker and self-help book author, which I told Verônika this yesterday. Like, the funny thing is, when I decided to make this zine, Crystal was helping me because I made these kits, right? Like, I made one about breakups, and I made one about, I think I just like need to lean into who I am, because I was like, well, that's so uncool to make because my book is about journaling. It's 55 journaling prompts, and this very famous self-help book author and motivational speaker wrote the foreword to it, and it's like a very big self-help book publisher. But a couple years into that, I was like, well, that's really uncool, and all my like cool friends in New York, and like that's not like, so I can't really do that. Like, I want to do something. I'm gonna make my podcast not wellness. It's gonna be like cool. I was so and and clearly I'm not that, but I think I'm so not that now that it is that, like, I'm free. But when I moved here, especially, like, I was really self-conscious, and I felt like I just, not that I wanted to, I wanted to fit into I'm like looking around here, it was like everyone in here is so talented in their different disciplines, and anyway, so I think I wanted to make something that fit into the mold of like what I would be proud to share. But now I'm kind of like, you know what? Maybe the self-help thing, like, I think everyone would be kind of into it now. Like, it's like whatever. Yeah. And that's kind of what this even is. So so I needed to. Yeah, that's
being
enough.
Yourself is cool. And what's your favorite place that you went?
I this is like a cop-out answer, but because I don't really know, but it felt really good to be here, and it felt good to sit still somewhere and not be traveling. So, and even though I haven't been able to go anywhere, and I barely leave this block, I really do like it here.
Does anyone have questions for Katie or comments? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
How did you choose which ones to put in this? Like, did you have more stuff, or was this kind of the bulk of everything in this one zine?
Excellent question. This will shock no one here. There's a lot more where this came from. Brevity is not my strong suit. There's so many of them, and I think several of you were victim to voice texts about me. Like, I worked on this much longer than I should have, but it was like those Post-it notes. I posted a photo of it today, but up on my wall, where my first idea was to do it by month. So I wrote the column monthly, and I had. They kind of went around a theme, like the one I want you all to read that will make the theme make sense, sort of, about giving. Like that one was my December column because it made sense because it was about giving. And the way we originally had it, and Crystal was my advisor and friend, and I love you so much. And anyway, they had journaling prompts attached to them, but again, I'm trying to be cool and write essays like all of you. Maybe I'll do a reading, you know? And like, so I took those out, but they were all themed to the months of the year. So there were 12, and then, oh my gosh, you know me with the edit, like it was this table of contents. There are so many drafts in my Google Docs of the amount of times that I switched that up. No one here wants to know. No one here wants to know that. But there were 12 until I took one out at the very last second, like Monday. It was about hair. Deleted track.
We'll have to stay tuned and come to the next one if we want the one about hair.
It was meh. Got the cut.
Anybody else? Yes, Dexter.
It sounded like this was a kind of a release for you from maybe a view into your past and a release of that. So what comes next for you?
It's a great question. That was on Veronika's list too. What do you think I should do? Should I come with you? This is my neighbor Dexter, who is moving away. Hi. I mean, I think I needed a big change. Maybe I'll take requests.
I think you should write your self-help. I think you should write another self-help book. Proper self.
I do have an idea in that vein that is about. Well, Crystal knows it was what I was gonna do first before this, and I think of some of you. I think Laura knows this too. Like, it's called Talk. This project that I want to make, because what I've done here more than any other place I've lived is participate. Like, Stella put this thing for my birthday of a quote that I said that is truly the best thing this peaks here. Do you want to say it? I don't remember. About fun. Never really fun on the table. That's right. And I think that's what I do. You know, I'm like constantly, it's never really fun on the table, for the record. Hi, Captain. But yeah, so I think with that, like I write to figure out what I'm thinking and feeling, like everyone does, but I want to do something, it's related to people and community and talking and all of it, and it's been in the works for a bit, to the point where I had all these if anyone's wondering why there's mouths on Let It Out's Instagram that have been abandoned, there's a feed of, Maddie talks about this with the drafts. I have all of these drafts, so many drafts of mouths. So when you see the mouse coming, like ominous, all these mouths, you'll know I've made the next thing.
Okay, so we'll do a couple more questions, and then we have some cake. I think potential after party at Good Housekeeping. Are you still feeling that vibe? Yeah. Okay, great. And then, maybe just like one or two more questions.
I don't remember, because it was 4 years ago now. I mean, I went to all of them. I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm sure. But you know, it's funny. I was thinking about Bali today, because that specific incense that you would have. Then they do the blessing when they put. Shayna just went to Bali. How long ago? That was last year, I guess. January. Wow. Yeah. But smell really like brings you back to a place more than any other scent. Anyway, I smelled something today when I was walking by, picking up the other leg, because that was the most important thing to get done before today.
Okay, and then one more thing I was going to ask was just, who inspires you? Do you have any like book recommendations for us to send us off with after we finish reading Pivot? What should we read next?
I mean, read everyone in here. So many. Wait, have I read this incredible newsletter written by Maddie? floss. Shayna dancing, watch Maddie's videos, watch Christine's videos, watch Cecilia's videos. Crystal has an incredible zine called 4 Seasons. Get yourself a hard copy of it. Annabelle's an incredible, beautiful writer. Gabby is an incredible illustrator. Beautiful podcast. Lindsay's a writer, also makes jewelry. Dr. Patty for all of your, and you, Veronika, are truly. I mean, I have words to describe what you've been through this evening, just like dealing with being here and thoughtfully reading, I'm so grateful. And Veronika's a brilliant writer. And I think maybe someday it's going to come on my podcast, but we'll maybe have her own someday, who knows? And I'm just so grateful to all of you I didn't say everyone, I'm realizing that I'm feeling bad. Hilarious comedian, Thomas. And yeah, I mean, Veronika did a book club here the other night, which was lovely, but I'm sure everyone, that book needs probably no more, but we loved it, all fours. But I would love it. I mean, I know a lot of people read it in here. What else do I like? Oh, I'll say, obviously Chris Kraus, love, blessings. Lord and Savior. I mean, she just really inspires me so much in so many ways that like we could maybe do an entire podcast, and perhaps we will. But another writer that I really love is Melissa Broder, and she's doing the podcast on Tuesday, so I'm really excited about that.
Amazing. Well, should we just stand and give Katie a round of applause?
Thank you guys so much.
Let's get the cake. Okay.
All right, that was the party. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you to NOTO Botanics. It is a incredible store in my neighborhood that I also work at, and Gloria, the founder, Gloria Noto, will be on the podcast soon. And I'm so grateful that we got to host it there. Thank you to Julie, who also works at NOTO and helped set this all up. And the biggest thank you to Veronika for just being the best. Obviously, you heard. And Veronika's going to come back on the show, and we'll record an episode from an actual studio, being my studio apartment. She lives right down the street, so it'll be easy to get her back. And in the meantime, thank you again so much for listening. Thank you for your curiosity and pivot. And like I said, if you want to get a copy, info on how to do so is in the show notes. The easiest way is probably to go to Substack, and I would love it if you subscribe there. It's also available at some stores in LA. It's at Skylight and Stories and the Pop Hop in Highland Park and NOTO. So come into NOTO, you can get a copy there. And you never know, I might be there. We'll see. Okay, thank you so much for listening. We have a really cool season coming up. I'm stoked. I've been doing some interviews. I allude in this one that I was interviewing one of my favorite authors, Melissa Broder, and I did that interview last week, and it was so great. It was a long one. It was over 2 hours, so we'll see. It might get cut into 2 parts. It might be 1 part, and many other exciting guests coming up. I'm not even going to hint at who they are, but they're exciting. I was excited. You might know who they are. Okay, bye-bye. Have a great week. We'll do the deep breath because we didn't do it there. Inhale. Let it out. Thank you so much. This podcast is edited by Jeremiah, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.